Welcome to Ecologic for the great month of April. Beautiful time of the year. The blackberries are ripe. In fact, I picked blackberries this afternoon and made a blackberry pie. It's a special treat from nature at this time of the year. It's hard to find a good spot to pick blackberries, and I'm sure not telling you where I went. So we're fortunate to have Philip Gould, photographer, who's spent, I guess, most of his career in the Acadiana area. I think one of his initial efforts was to photograph the fishermen, the crawfishermen at Catahoula, bring attention to their way of life and how they harvest crawfish in the wilds of nature. Now crawfish are harvested in the rice fields, and that's a different operation from the swamp. These swampers are part of our natural heritage, and they were providing crawfish to us long before the rice field ever did. So, but Philip photographed those guys, I guess, 30 years ago. Those guys are all older men now.
Well, more like over 40, actually.
Wow.
I started in '78, and it was the crawfishermen and all that was part of a greater documentary project trying to photograph Cajun culture in a broad sense.
Wow.
Not only the livelihoods, traditional livelihoods, but also music, religious activities, this kind of thing. You name it, Mardi Gras. Also, just a sense of Cajuns trying to live a traditional life in a modern day, what was then a modern day.
Yeah.
So it was the first big project I had because I was working at a paper in Dallas, Texas at the time, and I did not like day-to-day photojournalism. It's very shallow. You go take your picture and you're done. The picture is forgotten in 36 hours, and next. And I just want to do something with a little bit more in depth. And so I came back and started doing documentary work on Cajuns. And so that's where I met a lot of those guys who were crawfishing. I remember several of them. Roy Savoie was one fellow out of Catahoula. He's still with us.
He's still with us. He went through a tough time with COVID. He was on a ventilator for a long time. He's recovered from it.
Yeah.
And of course, his sons are carrying on the tradition.
Boy, that's an understatement.
Yeah.
I met Roy Jr. the other day, and he's going to town, and it's not, what do you do, Roy? Well, the answer is, what do you need done? So there's something very charming about that just very straightforwardness.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
those guys, they got together and sued the pipeline companies, the oil companies, the engineering firms, and about the how the permits were not put in place as the permits were written.
Huh.
They prevailed on that. So it was 9 years of litigation, but they realized that they had the support of the public and the community to deal with those tough issues, including trespassing. Trespassing on waters of the nation, so to speak, which they had a right to be there. Some of the big landowners didn't think so, and
I remember all that.
Yeah.
It's
it's I guess a victory of our democracy. Those guys could pull together, and for the most part have attorneys working for them almost on a pro bono basis.
Sure.
Because no guarantee they get paid in any kind of way. For a lot of their efforts.
But they do it anyway because they feel the
cost
cost as well.
That's right. One of the cases, the Larry Dale case, and that was a 5-day trial in St. Martinsville. He had 7 criminal trespass charges against him.
Wow.
And the president of the American Maritime Administration came as a witness.
Oh, wow.
Pro bono. And he was the expert witness on the Valdez, the Exxon Valdez case. He was the primary witness. So his witness
he knew the stuff.
Oh gosh, he's a fantastic witness. And he had a team of people who would go and, including himself, would go and visit the area in question and know whether it's affected by the tide, how deep the water was, and how it's being used. And he knew the first question the attorney would ask is, have you been there? So he spent 2 or 3 days in that swamp where that where Larry Daigle was arrested. So,
Wow.
but it was your efforts like yours that brought the plight of the fishermen to the public,
Right.
and
Well,
with a great concern for their well-being and part of the Cajun heritage.
indeed. Well, I think Cajun, at the time, people were waking up, realizing just what a jewel they had in the culture here.
Especially it was.
And you know, it wasn't soon after that Paul Prudhomme got going and all the Cajun restaurants got kicking into a higher gear. And then the music just
And the
went
music,
crazy.
you know, I
All
mean,
over the country. You had
Yeah.
more Cajun and Zydeco groups touring all over the United States, Beausoleil, Gino Delafosse, Clifton, even.
Clifton,
I remember when I was first moved here in 1974 from California, I heard about Clifton, so I went and bought an album. I said, well, let's get a live one, because that's probably a good selection. I turn it over and I look at his recording in Richmond, California, where I grew up. I had
Wow.
no clue about this guy. Nothing. And but he had a hell of a following, and it was a lot of people who came out over the years during the war to work in the refineries and the shipyards and all this, and seeking opportunity and a better life. And so he had a following there, and was a real eye opener for me.
I guess originally from Plaisance, from that area of St. Landry Parish.
I always heard it was Opelousas, but you know,
Yeah, well,
I
Plaisance is right next to Opelousas,
Right,
over
so-
70, kind of between
where,
Opelousas.
where
and
exactly he was born and what, you know,
in the country there.
in the country.
Yeah. People like, you know,
Yeah.
the we had, you know, Rodney was one of the players. Rodney Bernard.
Sure.
He
Is
worked
this-
for us forever.
Really?
Oh yeah. He
The
worked-
Swamp Pop guy, right?
Yeah. Swamp
Right.
Pop guy.
Yeah. Ron
Yeah.
Bernard.
Rod Bernard. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that awakening of that heritage, you know, I guess brought on Festival of Cayenne. And people realize this needs to be celebrated, and we
It'll-
need to brag about it, and it's, you know,
It all
it's
started.
an amazing thing that, you know, you can't make jokes about this group or that group or that group, but not the Cajuns. You can make all the jokes you want about them.
Well-
And the Cajuns just laugh it off, you know, just say,
Well,
hey.
I think usually in Cajun humor, the object of the joke prevails and comes out on top, although
Yes.
through his own
Yeah.
wiliness,
Right, yes.
it doesn't seem that way as you're going through the joke, you know. You know, but so that's part of the joy of Cajun humor, that you know, other ethnic humors are a
Yes,
little tougher,
yes.
and you know, not as funny, frankly. You know, so
It was amazing, you know, I guess after the Civil War, a lot of them, they didn't think a lot of owning property, and they, like on the prairies, the only thing they claimed was where the house was.
right,
And so the range was all public. That's why
Wow.
they had rants.
right,
And,
sure,
and so around your house, you might be a half acre, you plant all your fruit trees, and you had to fence it to keep the cows from coming and
right, oh yeah.
eating up your garden, you know. And,
Right. And if you had cattle, they were out there with everybody
then after the
else.
Civil War, the state sold all that, and they became tenants. And
Right.
tenant farmers, and often they weren't compensated very well for their efforts, and times were
No.
different, you know.
Yeah, much tougher.
But they went through those tough times, and
Yeah.
through it all, they've maintained their, I guess, dedication to their fundamental beliefs, their religion, their family, the importance of family, you know, and
Yeah.
living with nature, you know, and
Yeah.
phenomenal. All
Well,
the-
living off the land and
living
always-
off the land,
This-
and you know, the recipes like around Catahoula, they always kind of laughed at people who eat shoe pick, you know.
Uh-huh.
Till I ate some shoe pick boulettes made by some of the fishermen.
And
Fantastic. I mean, you think of
Yeah.
stuffed crab is good, but a shoe pick boulette is about twice as good as any stuffed crab you put in your mouth.
well,
Fantastic. And
I need to remember
these
that.
things are not, they don't have any written recipes. How you make it? Well, you do this,
Yeah.
no written recipes, you know.
Well,
And they
know it-
lived
know
off
it
the land,
in-
you know. I
yeah.
mean, it was amazing.
It's the same thing with all the
They,
boats.
that's
They-
right.
They knew, I mean, did they have architectural drawings all sketched out? No, they just started in and
They started.
It was all in their
built it.
DNA.
And that's true of the trip boats, the Lafitte skiffs, and you look at their contribution to boating.
Right.
Roy Bros, as Cajun as you can get,
right,
he built the first aluminum boats.
Lorville.
He had third grade education, and he knew that weight to horsepower was something super critical. Because
Right,
you could put a little boat, you put 5 men in it, it wouldn't go. You take everybody out and go like the Dickens. So he knew weight was a difference.
right, right.
So when
Yeah.
when he was outside his first aluminum boats, he knew that, the aluminum is about 1/5 the weight of steel.
Right,
And so aluminum has a density 1.49 and steel is like 8.8. So
right,
I
right.
mean, so there's about 5 times lighter. And he knew weight was important. And he didn't know calculus, but to be able to come up with a formula for it, he got Trooper Ruiz with the first radar guns,
Uh-huh.
and he put them on the Lorville Bridge.
Wow.
And they took about 20 boats,
Uh-huh.
and they'd go run them and get to speed, and then take them out of the water and bring them to the sugar mill and weigh them.
Wow. Okay.
And he come up with a formula to get 30 miles an hour. You had to have a vessel weighing 30 pounds per horsepower.
30 pounds per
30
hor-
pounds per
per
horsepower. 30 pounds per horsepower.
Yeah.
Their big steel crew boats were 90 to 110 pounds per horsepower.
Wow.
And then, and the bigger they made them, the heavier they got per horsepower.
Right.
And they put big engines, but they needed more fuel. They needed bigger props, and it still was this horrendous ratio.
Right, right.
Well, he had the first aluminum crew boat being built, and it weighed 24 pounds per horsepower,
Which is even less.
less than 30.
Right,
So
right.
he guaranteed it would go 30 miles an hour.
And then some.
Guaranteed it would go 30 miles an hour. And before that boat hit the water, he had orders for 9 more.
Wow.
Because the fastest these boats would go was about 14 or 15.
Yeah.
Now he has a boat that's going to double the speed.
What year was that?
That was right in about 1960.
Wow.
And Cajun ingenuity,
Yep.
just
Natural born engineer.
natural born engineer, absolutely a natural born engineer.
Think about all
And,
the engineering they had to do up in Nova Scotia to deal with the floods, to deal with the tides.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
down here
absolutely.
with the levees.
Yes,
You know.
and so the boat actually went 36 miles an hour,
Wow.
which was phenomenal. I mean, it changed the boating world.
Right
And
here.
and I think Alcoa was working with him with aluminum, and he says, "Oh, those Cajun people, you can't teach them to weld." He says, "You're absolutely nuts telling me that. Cajun people can do anything. Anything you Yankee guys can do, we can do better."
Right.
So,
And if you want to
so
go ahead and argue the
and
point,
a lot of the
well,
people
good luck with
they
that.
were sugarcane hands, and when they weren't harvesting cane, they were working for Roy.
Right.
So he
Right.
had great confidence in their ability to learn aluminum welding. Of course, they taught them, and they learned, and
Right.
they did
Right.
fantastic with it,
Yeah.
But Cajun ingenuity and just, and of course, there were other people that followed Bro's steps. Gravard's one of them, and of course others, followed. But that was the lead,
Huh.
an
Wow.
amazing time.
Wow.
And but you've been a part of that celebration of Cajun.
Well, I was there as a
history,
witness.
Cajun life, right? Yeah.
I ate plenty of cuisine. I danced to plenty of music. I photographed a ton, and oftentimes had to choose between dancing and photography. And
Yeah.
I always regretted it when I chose dancing because obviously a great picture passed by or what have you. But
Right.
you know.
Right.
well, what you gonna do? So
And it's the food, and how those native dishes like crawfish etouffee and gumbo
Right.
and all these things,
right,
and you can go to New Orleans, but you get gumbo there. It's not like gumbo in Lafayette or Opelousas.
right,
Oh, Brew Bridge.
They, some people in Annapolis is, I mean, New Orleans actually put tomatoes in gumbo, is that what I
It's
understand?
more like a soup. Yeah, right.
Well, okay, good luck with that. you know?
Right, yeah.
I remember when I was I worked for the Daily Iberian, out of college, 1974 and 1975. And one place we went a lot for lunch was Aunt T's in Lauraville,
Oh, yes.
who was, it's a lady who had, an older lady, had a killer recipe for crawfish etouffee, and people would come from everywhere. And I will guarantee you, she had about 1.5 marriage proposals per day, just based on her cooking. Aunt T, won't you marry me, please? You know,
The real way to a man's heart is through his thumb.
and, you know, the people would just, she would just go, well, you know.
Yeah, right.
So, but she just took that as a compliment to
And
her
all
cooking.
the boat guys were there eating there all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I
hello,
mean,
why not?
Yeah, why not?
You know,
Go Lorville,
so-
and then you take the Cajun ingenuity with the Go Devil and all these things, the mud boats and
Uh-huh.
how they could figure when they made aluminum mud boats, the whole boat was a radiator.
Okay.
They would run pipes on the inside on the bottom
Uh-huh.
and just run the water through the pipes, and that became the radiator because the whole hull was aluminum. It was cool. It
Okay.
was cooled by the moving water.
Wow.
And the Cajun ingenuity issue,
Wow.
and some of the big crew boats had that the same type of coolant,
Really, just,
just pipes welded to the bottom that circulated the water,
wow.
in a closed system rather than using seawater.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
Wow.
So, but your photography certainly has been a part of that, and I think now you're working on coastal restoration and.
Well, I have always been focused on cultural matters, on sociological things, on landscape, what have you, and I'm an environmentalist, but I'm not an activist photographer in that sense. I don't go out and,
Yeah.
look for a cause. Right now, I'm working on a project using a drone, photographing landscapes, aerials.
Yeah.
You're
You're on the air, can we help you?
Huh?
Yep.
Yeah, hey Harold, just wanted to call in and tell you I'm enjoying your show tonight.
Who says?
It's Bob Hammock, right? Good to hear from you, Bob.
Yeah, and I was just thinking how this time of year is really so nice here. I live in Bendale Gardens, and the birds here are just unbelievable. I mean,
Well-
those little barn sparrows with the green stomachs, and the cardinals, and
I guess,
all the birds that fly high in the sky, just loaded with birds. And it's
well, your
time of year when they all come back.
your backyard's on the coulee. I guess you have wood ducks there too.
We got wood ducks, yeah. And the other day I had a little green bellied sparrow of some sort, a little bitty bird, and the thing keeps building her nest in my barbecue pit. So I go out to barbecue for Easter, and there it is. So I got this ethical dilemma. I got to cook. So this year I took just grabbed the nest as lively as I could. I put it inside of a wood duck box that a friend of mine gave me. I put it on top of the ladder next to the fence. And I thought, well, that's going to be it. The mama's not going to feed the little birds. But sure enough, man, her and her mate were both coming around with worms and jumping in and out of the box. So I haven't looked
Wow.
in there, haven't gone near them since, but I'm hoping that they survive. But, it's just, we have all kinds of animals right here in the middle of town. We got foxes, raccoons, possums, squirrels, and every bird you can think of. And wood ducks, tons of those flying up and down the coulee.
Wow. Is that Coulee mean?
Turtles,
Yeah.
alligators, right up the
Wow.
As in
lab.
Bendale.
So it's kind of fun if you just go out in the backyard and spend some time and notice it.
I'm curious, did you flood in the August 16 flood?
He did.
I did, yeah, I did.
Okay.
And Bob's been a part of the team that's been fighting to deal with that and make some improvements that would hopefully prevent that from happening again. I think we know
Yeah,
what
that
needs
was
to
a
be.
terrible, terrible time. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah,
I went I had dinner last night with a buddy of mine who lives 2 doors down who moved because of that. You know, well, I haven't moved because I'm sort of a believer. I think we can fix the problem, but you know, a lot of people just they don't want to have to deal with that again. You know, so it's really important that we make sure that we take care of that in the most efficient, economic, and practical way that we can without spending a bunch of money on these gigantic projects that really don't do too much, you know. So,
you look at spending money. I think if everything we wanted to do could be done, you'd be talking less than $40 million. You know, all the
Right.
things that reconnect, you know, the Testamine to the shelf line, drain it into the shelf line, it's important. You know, restore fisheries, all these things would not cost a lot of money. I was on the water Friday, you know, catfishing, and look at one of those marsh restoration sites that restored 300 acres, and the cost of that was $39 million. We spend
it's,
billion dollars a year on coastal
the use
restoration.
of resources, you know, it really comes down to me. In a lot of ways, you could just boil it down to the efforts to work with nature or try to control and fight nature. And you'll spend 20,000 times more money. That's maybe an exaggeration, but you'll spend way more money trying to control it than you will if you can work with it. And like you said, you know, these things that we can do, like, you know, getting the river dredged and getting the natural drainage areas, the natural floodplains opened up and flowing, and
Yeah,
getting the rivers flowing rather than taking out these dams and stuff. That's way more efficient than digging gigantic holes all over town that may or may not hold the water when the rain comes. We don't even know what they're going to do, and we're spending
yeah,
$30-40 million on these things. So,
right.
yeah, I think you know, it's
Well,
It's
Philip
a-
is working with his
it's a problem.
drone in a lot of these areas that, you know, I think Terrebonne Parish has been a fortune with their hurricane protection system.
All the levees.
The levees,
system.
the levee system, and all the gates that are associated with it.
I saw a few of
Right.
those last week or so. They're huge, and they are built like nobody's business. Just unbelievably
Yeah,
strong.
to stand the test that a hurricane throws at them, that's
Right.
enormous forces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To your points, Sarah. I always, Mr. Harold would always talk about the key to flood control in these tricky times of hurricanes and rainstorms is to simply turn off the spigot beforehand, way upstream, and get the coordination for that. And they actually tried it a couple of times, and lo and behold, it actually worked.
It
right?
actually worked. They thought we were crazy until
did.
Hurricane Matthew, and you realize we're not as crazy as they thought we were.
Right. Well, it's just logical.
It is logical.
You're buying what,
Well-
18 inches of height or depth in the water?
The model showed Lafayette would go to 16.9, and the 16 flood was 17.1, so that's only
Yeah.
2 inches apart.
and you know,
And
the other
that's,
thing to remember, and Harold, we always talk about this too, but it's an incremental game. In other words, 5,000 houses in Lafayette Parish flooded in 2016. 3,000 of them or more had less than a foot of water in them, or a foot or less.
that's right.
So if you could lower water levels by a foot, then it would have saved hundreds of millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
And you spend,
Yeah.
even if the $30 or $40 million that you spend to do these things that are eminently doable, and they will clearly lower, I think, lower water levels by a foot, maybe 2 feet,
Yeah.
you would have saved almost everybody. So
That's right.
it's not an insurmountable problem, but it has to be addressed, and it has to be attended to in a very sort of persistent way, where you don't
Yeah.
you say, oh well, we haven't flooded for a couple of years, let's just forget about it. You know,
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
you got to put things in place, like Mr. Gould was saying, to anticipate the problem and address it before the rain comes, and then and keep those things, and not just relax when we get a couple of years off. You know.
Yep, fantastic.
So anyway, but
Thank you for calling in,
Go on.
Bob. We appreciate it, sir.
All right.
Huh?
Thank you for calling in. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Nice
Yes,
talking to you. Bye-bye.
thank you. You on the air? Can we help you?
So, delay?
Hello?
Hello, yes, you on the air. Can we help you?
Yes, this is Archie Hill. I have a question for Philip Gold. I have seen his display.
Got an echo of
Yeah.
the tape delay. So
I've
keep
seen
talking.
his display
Thank you.
at the Oshners in New Orleans, and I'm wondering if with this expansion of the Oshners here in town that he might have an opportunity to put in a photographic display and possibly an environmental theme.
Well, I appreciate
I'm going to
that.
hang up now and listen. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Archie, for calling in.
a lot of people comment about those pictures. I got those to the hospital back in the late '90s.
Wow.
This is in Oxnard in New Orleans what's the highway there that goes right by their place?
Oh, Highway 90.
Yeah, old Highway 90, and more people have commented on that. You said, I saw those pictures, and so, thank you. How to get Oxnard to consider more is one of the great mysteries of the universe, and I don't have an answer per se, but maybe it'll happen. But thank you. I appreciate your good thoughts.
Thank you. Yep. Archie's very active with the Sierra Club. He's somewhat a proponent of nuclear power, and nuclear power certainly has its merits, and-
Right. It works great until it doesn't.
Right, yeah. The biggest issue is high cost of installation and initial cost.
Yeah. Pretty
And
tough.
they haven't figured that out. The
Yeah.
safety steps you have to take is very expensive, so.
Right. Well, we can, if you like, we can walk through some images that I bought. for
Yes,
people.
absolutely, let's go through that.
Many of these started out at the very beginning when I was doing my project on Cajun culture. This is one. Is there a way you can reduce the size of that because you can barely see the guy's hand? Is that?
No, I don't know how.
Okay, that's fine. This is two gentlemen in Mamu talking on a Saturday morning.
Of course, with their hands.
With their hands, and one of them is not. I suspect he's not drinking orange juice, but but they're having at it. And I just was lucky enough to be there and just got the shot. I felt very fortunate to
Outstanding. That's
just
the black and white, isn't
It's black and white, yeah. Yeah, the early ones are black and whites. This is a Cajun dance, a wedding dance in Kaplan, Red's Cajun Club, I think in Kaplan, along the old highway between Abbeville and Kaplan, and this classic with the money in the veil, and it's a father dancing with his daughter, and this is her wedding night,
Wow.
and so he's looking a bit on the grim side.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's sad to lose his daughter or he doesn't
Worried
like
about
her
the wedding, what
husband
the wedding costs.
or their cost, but it's still. I mean, and you can see the people around and supportive and everything like
Wow.
that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That was a tradition. You'd pin $1 to their, or $10 or $20 to their veil.
I don't think was is the right word. I think still is the right word.
Okay.
Anyway, this is from a wedding vow renewal with this couple, Walter and Effie Landry. They were from Delcom, and I heard about this. It was at the church in Abbeville, and after the wedding, they walked to this buggy, and I just loved the way she just sort of climbed up in that buggy like she was wearing blue jeans and cowboy boots. The bridal gown. Forget about that, and it just, to me, it caught a really nice quality of Cajun culture, especially with women.
Wow.
And so I was living in Dallas, Texas when I took this picture, and she was like a muse calling me back to Louisiana.
Wow. Yes.
You need to come back here and do some of photography here and all that kind of, and it was very profound at her influence, the influence of her and the character and just this photograph. Because this is the kind of photograph I wasn't taking for the Dallas Times-Herald, except when Louisiana. So
Wow.
there was a lot going on here that resonated personally. and career-wise. Why don't you go to the next one? We were talking about Roy Savoie. This is a shot. I was out with him in the basin.
Yes.
He had a good haul of crawfish, probably 25, 30 sacks. His
Sack-
boat was
boat is
barely
full.
above water.
Yeah, right.
And he gets back, he brings his truck back to the ramp, and the first thing he does is pour water on the truck to cool it down. You know, I just like, this is just too strange to see all that water coming out of that bucket, but, you know, practicality is the name of the game more often, first and foremost, and you know, I might have seen this as an odd thing, and he was just happy to cool his truck down, you know, so, anyway.
Because it had been sitting in the hot sun.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So that would not do well for the crawfish.
Right.
And that was a priority at the moment. So anyway, Karen Crow Raceways up in Karen Crow
Oh,
now. It's a
yes.
big old ballpark.
Quarter
There.
horse races.
Quarter horse racing. You wouldn't believe.
You wouldn't believe the
amount of
money
people
that
who-
changed hands.
Well, and the people who came, and one nice thing is that the people of all races came to this thing, and it was all just seamless. It was just very sweet to see. I got on the. This was not an important race, so they let me get on the starting gate, and I got this shot, and then you go further down, and you see a whole cloud of dust down there, and the guy on the right has got his arm up, claiming victory, and I'm looking at him. I said, "How on earth can he see who won that race?" The horses are clouded in dust, but you know. But this is just. I'm just really proud of being able to catch this moment.
See, the Cajuns had the chicken fights, they had the dog fights, they had the quarter horse races,
Oh yeah,
and then there's a bunch at Henderson. They put a tug of war race together, a
Uh-huh.
tug of war between an 18-wheeler wrecker and a little barge at 235 horsepower Johnsons on it.
Okay.
And it was a tug of war, and I would guess they tried it before.
What
And-
happened?
Huh? This was an 18-wheeler wrecker. It was a wrecker that you used as the biggest wrecker
yeah.
you can get. And it's on the ramp, and somebody shoots a pistol, and it was never a contest. They'd have dragged that wrecker into the lake if they'd have kept going.
Really?
The
So
tires
the
were
boat won.
smoking. Oh yeah, the boat won.
Wow.
But it was like a chicken fight. Muddy, hollered, they all drinking. I mean, it was the biggest commotion. They had 400 or 500 people watching this event.
Wow.
It was thrown by a couple of cases. One couldn't read cat or spell dog, but I imagine he had tried it, and
Yeah.
he really did well.
We talk about Clifton Chenier. I had the opportunity to photograph him at his house. I lived over on Magnolia Street
yeah.
here and down near downtown, and I was able to get a shot of him with his trailer. This is what he used to haul all his equipment around. And I love the painting of his accordion and the whole.
You think it was homemade?
Oh. No, the trailer was not homemade, but the painting was,
Yeah.
and you know, it did the job.
Wow.
So I was pretty happy
What a
about
great
that.
shot.
Thank you, thank you. Let's see what we got. Oh, this guy Kermit Laverne is one of the few people I knew in Louisiana who actually raised longhorn cattle,
Oh yeah.
and this was up near Lawtell, and he is checking cattle, I think, for maybe I don't know, something about the teeth, and he is standing on the backs of these cattle. They're all pinned in; they can't move, so he's walking around like
Walking
it's a
on
floor
the top of them.
and checking them one to one, and I just shook my head. I couldn't believe it. So, but anyway, that was a nice moment too. This is a book. Herman Fuselier and I did this book together. Ghosts of Good Times, Louisiana Dance Halls, Past and Present, and there's an idea that Herman had about all these dance halls that are closed but still standing, and how they are decaying is interesting in its own right. And this was a Southern Club at the time, and you still had some of the neon glass and everything, and it just caught a feeling of a place long
That was in
since its
Eunice?
prime. Southern Club is on the road Highway 190, just west of Opelousas.
Yes, okay.
And sadly is now on the ground. Is barely, I mean, the whole front facade just caved in. And it's just sad to see.
Part of the history.
You know, and here's the thing. People go, well, we need to resuscitate it and all that. This thing was so huge that you could never make the numbers work. I mean, and what kind of band would you get to come there? And it's, plus the cost of restoration. I mean, you just have to
Yeah.
sometimes let things go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go to the next one. Hamilton Club, over there on Barrow School Road. That was a happening place. I always thought there was a dance hall that was straight out of Central Casting, like Hollywood would see, oh my God, we need to do a film there. I don't know how often it happened, but this was the last night that they were open. I think it was 2005. And these are all the people gathered, and you can see the cars and flashing arrow sign, and yeah, it was a wonderful night, like many others before it, and then that was it, all done.
Wow.
So sad to say. This is Bork's Club in Lewisburg. Bork's and Guidry's Friendly Lounge were two Cajun dance halls there, and both of them long closed. Bork's had a leaky roof problem, as you can see, and the floors are rotting out, and the tables were stumbling, falling into the ground and all this. But the tablecloths, red plastic tablecloths, they were as good as the day they were put on the tables eons ago. I photographed four couples at one of these tables like this, and with the red tablecloths, and now I see this, and it was like,
Wow.
yikes. Nature is cruel, brutal.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, oh my goodness. What was his name? Tied Manuel had the Holiday Lounge up near Mamu, and Tied was a good friend of Governor Edwards, and he had all kinds of show dancers and all this kind of thing, and so he wanted to show his appreciation, support of the governor. So he put this painting up of him and the sign saying "Bienvenue a Mamu, notre Gouverneur Edwards." So that's one of those. It's what's called a brake slammer. I saw that, and I just stopped the car instantly. We need to get a photograph of that.
Wow.
So anyway. This is a photograph I did in New Orleans. This is the Saturday before the Saints won the Super Bowl. There's a Mardi Gras parade, and these are a couple men dressed in drag as nuns, and they're parading down, and you can see the fleur-de-lis, and just enjoying themselves.
Wow.
So, yeah, just an odd moment. Go ahead. Okay. After I did the book on dance halls, I did a book called Bridging the Mississippi, Spans Across the Father Waters. I went all the way from New Orleans up to Lake Itasca in Minnesota, and just documenting spans, architecture, landscapes, and humanity all swirled together.
No, but
And this is a bridge that we all know, the Huey Long Bridge.
Yes.
And,
New Orleans.
and this is the expanded version. It is now no longer scary to drive across. And the thing I love about it is that they kept the profile of the original span
Yes.
and the superstructure. And it still has a beautiful shape and
Yes,
form
yes.
to it.
Honesty, there's an honesty about
Could
those
you go back?
bridges.
Or maybe you can't go
And,
back.
we, Sarah and I, 5 years ago, went to St. Louis and came all the way down. And the
Right.
bridges are so impressive from the river.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to talk about this is you can see what they did. They used the original piers built
Yeah.
for and they tested and they realized they were way stronger than they needed to be and strong enough to support this much more weight. So they set up these W forms
Wow.
to put on top of those original
To
piers,
be able
and
to
that
widen the span.
widened the span and widened spread out the load, and so you can see going all the way
Yes.
from one side to the other. The bridge, the railroad side of the bridge is over 4 miles long from ground to ground. It's just amazing.
They only use about a 1% grade. Trains don't like to climb hills.
No,
They can't.
no. Long freight trains, no,
Right.
no. Go ahead, I'm so sorry. This is in Davenport, Iowa. This is a baseball game, and stadium is right by the Centennial Bridge there. And I was just photographing, and somebody hit a 3-run home run, and this fellow just jumped up out of his seat and started waving and shouting and clapping and all this, and managed to get a shot. Turns out he used to be a minor league baseball player himself, and so he appreciated what had just happened. So, and I was just happy he did it. So let's go to the next one. This is in Savannah, Illinois. There was a company, Kramer Bridge Construction, out of Wisconsin, I believe. They had the contract to build this span across the river. They had basically completed the span, and they had to get rid of the old span before the river opened up again. It was closed for winter. And so they put about roughly 376 charges on the bridge, and it all came down at once.
Wow.
And you can see it crashing into the water, and you can still see the original form of the bridge
Wow.
from the
Yes.
smoke. I felt really lucky to get that, and
When was that shot done?
that was shot in 2018.
Wow. Okay.
This March of 2018.
Wow.
So yeah, I was happy about that one.
Wow. Fantastic.
David, go ahead. This is at the headwaters, and there's a whole series of boulders that go
Yeah,
from
you
one
can
side
walk
to the
across
other.
Lake
You can-
Itasca,
You can literally walk across the Mississippi River
right?
if
Yeah.
you want to think about it that way. And
Pretty
it's-
clear water in that little lake.
yeah, it's about as bucolic a scene as you can get. People out there just
Yeah.
bathing around, and this is 500,000 people visit this spot a year
Wow.
to see the headwaters, and I wouldn't call it a pilgrimage, but it's somewhere along that path. You know, they hold this place in very high esteem. So, anyway, that was a great project. I enjoyed that immensely. Book
Do
is
you-
still out.
you get
People
to
can pick
take-
it up.
The bridges at St. Louis, the 3 bridges there.
I photographed primarily the Eads Bridge.
Oh, that's
which
in
is-
St. Louis, yes.
Yes, which is the first bridge to use steel on a massive scale.
He was another
It was the only way they could get it
uneducated
built.
engineer.
James B. Eads was also somebody who never went to engineering school,
That's right.
never built a bridge, and the town fathers realized that they were on the wrong side of progress on the west bank of the city, and they needed to get a bridge built to connect them to the Eastern Railroad grids.
And the Corps fought him. The Corps of Engineers fought him. They didn't want the piers in the river.
Well, guess
And
what?
Eads was real friendly with Grant.
And
And he invited President Grant to be the first to walk over the bridge. And of course,
Wow.
that turned the Corps in a different direction. When
Yeah.
Grant was,
he also, the story goes, people were very nervous about the bridge and how it would hold up, and so he arranged with the traveling circus to march 15 elephants across the bridge.
wow.
And knowing that an elephant would never step on something that they did not think was
Safe.
stable and safe. And after that, no one had an
Of
issue
course,
about
and the
it.
bridge is still standing.
And the bridge is still standing.
They
and
redid it about, I guess, 15 years ago. Completely redid it.
it's been a while back, probably somewhere in the 90s, and now the metro runs through those lines.
Wow. And of course, he was important for Louisiana because Eads opened up Southwest Pass.
Yep.
with
Oh,
those projects.
He was one of the great fathers of the Mississippi River. We should go on.
Yes.
I'm working on a book on drones. This is a photograph taken at Nickerson Swamp over by Lake Martin, and just caught their early morning light, and you can see the
Wow.
actual airport in the background.
Yes.
And I just love this scene. When you're above the horizon, trees make their own shadows, and you can
Yes.
see that line that way. And then the color of the sky is reflected in the blue of the water, and so I was really happy to get this shot.
Fantastic.
Go ahead, Dave. This is over near Cow Island, and this is a barn that one end of it collapsed during a hurricane, I got a shot of it. To me, it looks like the barn sank into the mud.
Yes.
But, you know, actually not. It just collapsed. But I mean, it just,
Do you
there's
mean
some,
Cow Island in Vermilion Parish?
Cow Island, south of Kaplan,
Yes, yes.
north of Forked Island.
Oh, yes, yes.
So,
Wow.
anyway, this is out, the highway between Dulac and Cocodrie. It's a wonderful road that goes through the swamp there, if
Yes,
anyone's been
yes.
down there. And there are a lot of trees that are, you know, once thriving live oaks that are now skeletons of their former
And
selves.
they're beautiful as a skeleton.
Yeah,
Really-
I mean, it's just amazing to
Yeah.
see. And I saw a couple of these, and so I just got got some photographs. This is the Chandelier Islands. This is one of the islands I photographed. This is years ago. And you can see it's barely hanging on as a
Yeah.
viable sanctuary for waterfowl and everything like that, you know.
I think, the Chandelier was one of the first, I guess, sanctuaries set up by President Roosevelt.
Wouldn't surprise me.
It was, yes,
Back
Yeah.
in then, it was something to speak of.
that's right.
Go ahead, Dave. Okay, this is San Francisco Plantation, taken at dawn. It closed, and the oil company behind it, I think Marathon Oil, owned the plantation, owned and had the refinery there, and they finally just said, that's enough, we're gonna stop the plantation. So it sits a bit like a ghost now.
Really?
Yeah, it's really sad. But I imagine it. This is the Canopy of Peace above the World War II Museum in New Orleans. I was able to get a drone up over the thing, and you can see how it relates to everything below it. It's very interesting architecturally. If you'll notice at the top, just up top to the right a little bit, that's the Tower of Lee Circle, where the statue of
yes.
Robert E. Lee used to be.
Yes, yes.
So this is now the apex focal point in that area of downtown New Orleans.
Wow.
So I was really lucky to get that. This is Ile Jean Charles near Pointe-aux-Chênes.
Yeah.
Pointe-aux-Chênes,
Yes.
not, and this is after the Hurricane Ida, I believe. And you can see it just kind of just came through and just knocked these
Really
buildings
knocked-
to
yeah,
smithereens.
That's a Native American site, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Really
they're
sad to see.
struggling to stay
Yeah,
in that.
they were struggling before the hurricane
Oh,
came,
sure,
and
yeah.
now I have no idea what's going on. But
And the loss of marsh has affected their,
right,
their livelihood in a way.
Yeah.
Trapping is gone. They used to have beef frogs all over that marsh. They're not there anymore. The oystering is pretty well gone. The
Yeah.
shrimping, they would harvest the small shrimp and dry them, sun dry them.
right,
and
right.
that's all gone. There's not
Yeah.
enough shrimp left to do that.
Yikes, not good. This is in Grand Isle, same storm. These are two houses side by side, and you can see the storm just blew them apart.
Wow.
And I was drawn to this photograph primarily because you can just see people's lives. I mean,
Yes.
furniture and the
Yeah.
kitchen and everything, and like poof, in an
Right.
instant gone. And it's a very fragile scene down there. And the sand underneath, which I don't think was there before the storm. Anyway,
Wow. Yes.
that's. This is the Lake Bourne Surge Protection Barrier,
Wow.
east of New
I
Orleans.
think $2 billion worth.
And it goes for 2 miles like this, and just protects this whole area from the east of New Orleans to St. Bernard Parish. New Orleans was hit badly during Hurricane Katrina, and this is there to prevent such an incident from happening again. So
And they were pleased at how the whole system handled Hurricane Ida.
it held up. Yeah, they were pretty. I think they were relieved for the
Yeah,
most
but
part.
Ida had a big impact on the marsh area.
Yeah,
Enormous impact. In fact, they used drones to do a survey of the loss, of the marsh loss, and Chip Clark gave a report at a conference in New Orleans with the levee boards, and
yeah,
they between the Chaffey River and the Mississippi, they figured they lost 138 square miles. from
Yikes.
Ida of marsh, which is 80,000 acres.
Yeah, yikes. This is an interesting situation here. These trees were blown over by Hurricane Ida. I was driving along the road and saw all these trees lying where you can see there's stumps
Yeah.
all there. So I put a drone up and got this shot that looks like they're standing up, but some, until you have to look at it a while to realize what's going on.
Wow.
But I was just kind of like, I was attracted to this scene. It's a slight abstract, if not surreal quality to this scene. So
Yeah,
I was pretty
yeah.
happy about it.
Fantastic shot.
Let's go on. This is the Trinity Episcopal Church up in Cheneyville. And I just happened to be up there driving around and put a drone up and got this shot. And you can
Wow.
see the lines, the vectors of the church just sort of morph into the rows of in the background. And I was just
Yes, that's amazing. That's that Sugarcane Road?
I believe so.
Yeah.
This is this happened probably in the last 3 weeks. I photographed this.
Wow.
So, this is also near Ile Jean Charles. This is near Pointe aux Chênes. These are barriers that they put out to help fight the surges during storms. And I was told that they put them at angles like this so that it's more effective
Wow.
than just straight lines of
Yes.
things like that. So early morning, and I just feel like I just got lucky.
Yeah,
So
yeah, really beautiful shot.
thank
Wow.
you so much.
Yeah.
That's what I bought. So anyway,
So, when you look at the impact of the hurricanes and how much, it's affected life in the coastal area from Grand Isle,
sure.
Cameron is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's
Cameron
it's
is,
beat them. It's like
just really beat it,
it's like an old boxer and after too many fights.
Yeah, yeah,
Just like
yeah.
so. Anyway,
Cameron, I think, has 4,000 people, and probably not that anymore. Some of the people have left, I guess.
yeah, right. And I mean, the courthouse is still there for Cameron Parish, and some of the oil facilities are still there. But
Yeah,
man,
yeah. And the marshland loss there is horrific,
yeah,
and a lot of it is just real bad projects. The east side of Cameron is north of the Grand Chenier, Pecan Island, all that region is an impoundment that covers Grand Lake, and Grand Lake's in Cameron Parish, and Mallet Bay and all those areas are in Cameron Parish. And the fact that we keeping that whole system at +3 is wiping out the marsh. You lose
Right.
all the vegetation, and it didn't happen overnight, but decades of keeping the marsh flooded
right.
kills all the plant life, and so it's all turned open a big open
Is it
lake.
brackish or is it
No,
fresh water?
it's all fresh water. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
Why
totally
do they
fresh-
keep it flooded?
Well, it's an impoundment to provide water for rice fields.
Huh.
And that whole world has changed because a lot of the rice fields of the region is converted to sugarcane.
Right. So
And
they don't need the
then
water.
farmers don't want to use surface water because they had to pay for it. They were using their own well water.
Right.
So that need has changed, but that system is a completely closed system. There's 4 gates. And it's interesting, there's the Catfish Locks, the Calcasieu Locks, the Bowman, and Schoonabaya. Well, the whole system drains into the Vermilion system through the Schoonabaya Locks and Bowman Locks. So
Yeah.
the whole Mermentau system feeds, and they don't drain through the Calcasieu. They can't. Because
Wow.
it's a navigation lock that doesn't allow for drainage. And,
Hmm.
and then the Catfish Locks, for whatever reason, they don't open it ever. And I don't know what the logic is behind that, but so.
There's always a logic in
A
what
logic,
they do,
that's
and
right,
that comes
yeah.
back and bites them
Or
too many times.
Well, absolutely.
Unintended consequences.
Unintended, absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
Like playing, chess with Mother Nature, Mother Nature's about 20 moves ahead of them. A lot of things we just don't even consider, you know.
Right.
We're gonna
Yeah.
build a big levee system, you know, protect us from the river flood. Well, it also floods on both sides, you know. Now
Right.
the water used to go to the South Lake Gate, you know.
Right.
So anyway, we're coming right to our close. So Philip, thank you. Your
You're
picture,
welcome.
your photographs
Enjoyed
are
it.
wonderful. You're part of Acadiana history going back to the middle 70s. So
Well,
we're
thank you.
proud to claim you as one of our own, so to
Thank
speak.
you.
You've
Thank you.
made a difference in a lot of issues.
And
The music, the fishermen, you know, all the people that you focus in with your photography.
appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So,
The next show will be
that's good. Thank you again, Philip, for being here.
You're welcome. Honored. I'm honored
to
to
have
be
you,
here.
Chris, yes.